I share with our viewing audience that you did not tune in at this moment by chance, that energetically we are all ready to move to the next level on the upward spiral. Life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. Life is the forward motion of the soul, the forward unfoldment of the soul, by Cahill Gibran. And we believe that. We believe that we are on the upward spiral, that life does not go backward, and that when we keep our eye on that energy, on that Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the sacred I am, whatever we conceive our higher power to be, whatever name we put on it, to know that which is within us is greater than that which resides in the world of conditions, appearances, and effects. We believe in our way of life that it's already done unto us, that we don't need to ask or beg or beseech, that there is an energy in the universe that has already given us everything. This month has been about empowerment. Today it's about empowering ourselves to live from mastery, not from effect. I have a colleague who goes all around, and he doesn't have a ministry anymore, but he guest speaks. And he said he was at a particular ministry 10 years ago, and he said he thought it was just great. He gave this talk, people were copiously taking notes, and it was just wonderful, and they, note after note after note. And he said, I went there 10 years later, and the same people in the first 3 rows were taking copious notes, and I thought, when are they going to get it? There comes a time when we don't need to be taking all the notes, but embodying this way of life, living from it in such a way that it becomes our very second nature. That as we live and move and have our being in this way of life, and religious science is a denomination. And when Dr. Ernest Holmes, who wrote the Science of Mind textbook, was asked by a journalist just in one sentence, what is it that you believe in? And without batting an eye, he said, the laws of the universe, the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion apply to human need and the aspirations of man and woman. That's a lot in one little sentence, isn't it? The laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion apply to human need and the aspirations of man and woman. It's not something outside of us. It's not something that we go to. It's something that we embody. We're in community to feel that relationship with the divine by means of one another. And when we talk about to know God, to love God, and serve God, we can only do that by means of one another. You are as close to God as I am ever going to get. I am as close to God as you are ever going to get. And if I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there truly is only one of us. If we are created in the image and likeness of God, it is good, and it is very good. Now, one of my very favorite stories, and I'm the queen of high tea. I've been all over the world having high tea, and I love it. In fact, Gigi said she was in Big Bear, and I had mentioned a high tea place there, and she said, oh, my minister comes here. And they said, oh, yes, she needs things a certain way. In other words, China, cream in an actual pitcher instead of a plastic thing if you're charging $25 for high tea in Big Bear. We do like a little pitcher, right? So I was teased upstairs in the Camelot upper room that perhaps I didn't want to put the plastics in my coffee, and I said, absolutely right, I need the pitcher with the cream in it. We all have our preferences. But I want to share a story with you that I absolutely love, and it's actually about a teacup. And I equate this story with you and I, because each and every one of us comes in as clay, just as the teacup. Energetically, we are the undifferentiated substance of the universe. And we have this idea that we want to re-enter the planet. We have things to learn. We have an unfoldment that we are recognizing, and we want to grow. We're here to grow and transform. So this is a beautiful little story, and it's called The Teacup. And there was a couple who used to go to England, and this couple would go to this special little china shop. And one day, in this beautiful shop, they saw a beautiful teacup. They said, may we see that? We've never seen one quite so beautiful. As the lady handed it to them, suddenly the teacup spoke. This is my kind of teacup. I love it. You don't understand, it said. I haven't always been a teacup. There was a time when I was red and I was clay. My master took me and rolled me and patted me over and over, and I yelled out, "Let me alone!" But he only smiled, "Not yet." Then I was pleased and placed on a spinning wheel, the teacup said, and suddenly I was spun around and around and around. "Stop it, I'm getting dizzy," I said. "Ah, not yet," the master said. Then he put me in the oven. I never felt such heat. I wondered why he wanted to burn me, and I yelled and knocked at the door. I could see him through the opening, and I could read his lips as he shook his head. "Not yet, not yet, not yet." Finally the door opened, he put me on the shelf, and I began to cool. "There, that's better," I said, and he brushed and painted me all over. The fumes were quite awful. I thought I would gag. "Stop it," I cried, and he only nodded. "Not yet, not yet, not yet." Then suddenly he put me back into the oven, not like the first one. This was twice as hot, and I knew I would suffocate. I begged, I pleaded, I screamed, I cried. Sound familiar? All this time I could see him through the opening, nodding his head, saying what? "Not yet, not yet, not yet." Then I knew there wasn't any hope. I would never make it. I was ready to give up. But the door opened and he took me out and placed me on the shelf. 1 hour later, he handed me a mirror and he said, "Look at yourself. Really look at yourself. Look at your unfoldment and the process it took to get you to this place. Look at yourself." And I did. And I said, "That's not me. That couldn't be me. It's beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm really, really beautiful." "I want you to remember," then he said, "I know it hurts to be rolled and patted, but if I had left you alone, you'd have dried up. I know it made you dizzy to spin around on the wheel, but if I had stopped, you would have crumbled. I knew it hurt and was hot and disagreeable in the oven, but if I hadn't put you there, you would have cracked. I know the fumes are bad when I brushed and painted you all over, but if I hadn't done that, you never would have hardened. You would not have had any color in your life. And if I hadn't put you back in that second oven, you wouldn't survive for very long because the hardness would never have held. Now you are finished. You are a finished product, as the Bible states. You are what I had in mind when I first began with you." And why I love this so much is that we go through all these amazing experiences and we say, "Stop. I can't take anymore. Stop. I don't want to do that. Stop. How can I possibly go through this?" But there is a master within us. To be empowered to live from mastery is to know that this too shall pass, but God's love, God's truth, God's beauty, God's wisdom, God's light is eternal. It is what penetrates everything in the universe. Anything unlike the divine, it dissolves and returns to its native nothingness. To live from heaven, nirvana, the highest state of heaven on earth, is to realize that we are here to grow and unfold in miraculous ways. And that when we have things that seem to assail us and we go, "I can't take it. The fumes of this chemo is too bad. The surgery is too hard." The energy of the universe and the master says, "Not yet, not yet, not yet. This too shall pass. This experience will pass. But my love is eternal. You are enfolded in the everlasting arms of God's love." That is the eternal verity. And to realize that as we come together in community and know the truth for each other, and we do not give handouts in this ministry, we give a hand up. And when we give a hand up, it means that we know exactly who that person is. I was coming out of Wells Fargo yesterday, and there was a gentleman there, and he had his DVDs and VHSs, and he said, "Would you care to look these over? I'm selling them because I need to get a bus ticket." So I went through all his DVDs, and I had most of them, you know, and I'd seen most of them, and the VHSs I'd seen. I said, you know, you have such a wonderful selection here. But, you know, would a couple of dollars help you, you know, with your project of getting your bus ticket? I really admire that you're out here. It takes a certain amount of courage to be out here and doing what you're doing. I really salute you. I really acknowledge your commitment to getting to where you need to go, that you would sell your precious DVDs. So what I know for each of us is we're all going somewhere. And whatever it takes, as the 12-step program states, it takes what it takes. And whatever it takes, we open ourselves up to it and realize that if we're going to live the highest state of heaven on earth, it means moving beyond the appearances, the conditions, and the effects. It means moving past diagnosis and prognosis, because with God, remember, all things are possible to them that believe. And once we move through belief, we get into knowingness. We begin to live from knowingness that there is a divine plan for each and every one of us. You know, there's a story about a lecture, and it says, there's this door, it says lecture on heaven, and there's another door that says heaven. And the people come in and they go, oh, lecture on heaven, oh, heaven. Oh, I'm going to go to the lecture on heaven. When we could go through the door of heaven and experience heaven on earth, which is to experience the joy, which is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. And when I know that I am an ego, it's when I am not experiencing joy. Then I'm at the effect and have just given my power away to whatever it is outside of me. And when I come back to that place of joy, and I can release that, I can let it return to its native nothingness from whence it came, then I know I'm back at center, that I'm living from a centered place. A dear friend of mine in business said that for the past couple of months it's been very difficult to pay the rent. He said, I had to talk to the landlord, and I said, I want to take you to lunch. And he said, well, you know, my schedule is such, and I've had, you know, this hip surgery. I don't really want to go to lunch. Give me the bottom line. What is it that you want? He said, I would like a reduction in our rent. And at that moment, the landlord cut the rent by $700 a month. He says, how's that? He says, that's perfect. That's what I envisioned. That's doable. That's affordable for me at this moment. And he said, I know, I don't care how much money you have. You know, you've got places for rent. You've got places that, you know, you need that income. But you will never, ever know how much I appreciate this. How very, very much. He said, well, you've always been honest with me. You've always called when you couldn't meet it, which was 3 times in 5 years. Why wouldn't I value this? And he said, if you moved out, it would probably just sit there. I mean, this is a wise landlord. This is a wise man. And when we take action, even though it's uncomfortable, I told him, you came from a place of mastery. You had envisioned what was affordable and what was doable. And you walked through the door that said heaven, rather than lecture on heaven. You walk through the door of mastery and the recognition that when we take action from a responsible place, the universe smiles on that, favors that. But when we're at the effect of it and we're crying on everybody's shoulder that'll listen, and believe me, there's a lot of sympathetic vibration out there for that. And not that we don't have compassion, that we don't understand, because believe me, I counsel people once a week that have lost a home or lost, you know, something in their life. And I said, when it looks like the rug is pulled out from under you, absolutely know that you will land on higher ground. This is how it works when we know the truth, because it is the truth that sets us free to be who and what we are. We are all in this human experience. We all say, not yet, not yet. I don't want to go through this process. Not yet, not yet. Oh, please, no, no, no. But the Master has a divine idea within us for that finished product of that beauty and that energy, that art and aliveness. The art and science of living is to come from that compassionate place and to absolutely know the truth. I have a 3-year-old grandson, in case you didn't know, and his name is Tyler, and he's in preschool. And I said, well, how do you like preschool? He said, I like it, I said, what are you learning? He said, I'm learning about China, and he said, I'm panda bears, and I'm learning about Australia and koala bears, and I'm learning about Hawaii and aloha. I said, that's fantastic. Do you have any friends? He goes, Eli, but he makes bad decisions. I said, he does? I'm like blown away, I'm stunned. I'm like, I'm talking to a 50-year-old here in a 3-year-old body. And I said, how does he make bad decisions? He said, he doesn't cooperate with the teacher. And I said, oh, well, I said, well, we'll just pray for him and we'll know the truth. And he said, and so it is. And so it is. But how many of our friends we see and we witness, they make bad decisions? We'd like to say something, but we know intuitively that they wouldn't learn their lesson any other way. And when we get it, that we go through the experiences to learn, to grow, and unfold. And some of our experiences are rigorous. And we want to say, please, end this. And the master within us says, not yet, not yet, not yet. There is another process of your unfoldment. There is another opportunity for you to grow. There's another wonderful, expansive thing happening for you. So not yet, not yet, not yet. And when we come through to the other side, we really do think, I am beautiful. I didn't know I was that beautiful. I didn't know I could respond in such a way that would allow me to experience myself without reacting negatively and being at the effect of life. That mastery entails incorporating earth, air, fire, and water. Earth, remember, is our body temple. And air is our thoughts, to focus our thoughts, to meditate on what's working in our lives. Fire is the will. We direct the will to those paths that allow us to know not my will, but thine be done. I of myself can do nothing. It is the energy within that does the work. I get my ego out of the way and I let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. And water is the emotion. And when emotions come up and I say, every emotion that we have ever experienced, it's still down there in our emotional body, in the solar plexus. We still feel it. There are times I see things and I just say to myself, I just know the truth and send love, send love, send love to whatever the situation is. In the recognition that there is a divine plan and that we have faith in the divine plan. But with God all things are possible, with man they are impossible, because God hath given us the spirit of love and life, and man has sought out many inventions. And I believe eventually we're all going to come to that place of light and of love. That we are the finished product and we can look into that mirror. We can say, you are so beautiful. I am so beautiful. I didn't know it could be like this. I am so grateful. And in that gratitude we know that God is our source, right? God is our source. Together, God is our source. Again, God is our source. One more time. God is our source. And so it is. Namaste. I love you, and we are going higher yet. And so it is.